Hello, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Vice President of Solutions Strategy here at Regalix, and I want to welcome everyone here to the program today. This is Deep Dive with Kevin Benedict, and I'm thrilled today to have as my guest Amy Hatch from SAP, who's in charge of SAP Experiences Global Content Marketing. Amy, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me today, Kevin. I'm very excited to be here.
Wonderful. So where are you located this morning?
I am in the beautiful Western New York City of Rochester, New York, which is where I live and work. I'm very lucky that I'm allowed to work virtually through SAP, and it's been a great experience.
That's one of the beauties of being responsible for content, because content you can kind of manage from anywhere, right?
You can, and over the last 12 years, I've actually had a consultancy before I joined SAP internally, and I managed most of that from my living room in central Illinois. We just recently moved back to Western New York, and it's been a really great thing for both my family and my career to be able to work as virtually as I have and as collaboratively as I have.
Got it. So for those that aren't as intimately familiar with the SAP's world as you and I perhaps are, why don't you share what part of SAP you're working in, Amy?
Absolutely. So I work in SAP Customer Experience, and our business unit is responsible for all of the solutions that really help you create really engaging, purposeful connections with your customers. So anywhere from sales to marketing to customer data protection, we cover the gamut, and we are really empowering our own customers to deliver the kind of digital experiences and consumer experiences, both B2B and B2C, that people are demanding today. I mean, customers are more demanding than ever, and creating a beautiful, seamless, connected experience is really the difference between being a success and falling behind your competitors.
Well, that's terrific. So that's kind of a real a new emphasis within SAP to focus on that area, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And it's definitely driving a lot of excitement inside of SAP overall. I know Bill McDermott is very excited about our business unit and references us often in his conversations with both the press and customers. And really, this is the future of engagement. And it's the future of how businesses are able to thrive and survive in a world where the customer is really in charge now.
Wow. So in addition to all these new developments and emphases at SAP, your area is also new, isn't it? Why don't you talk to us about that and what you've been involved in?
Sure. So I run the content marketing team inside of SAP Customer Experience. We've recently expanded. We grew from I have 3 direct reports, now I have 10 or 13 rather. So they're really empowering our team to take content for our customers to the next level, which is so important right now. I mean, I really think that marketing has changed in that there are 2 ways we reach customers. One is, of course, our human interaction, right? Our sales teams, our field, that relationship, that human touch is still deeply crucial, I think, to everyone's success. But when you think about how you interact with brands, you are mainly consuming content. Whether it's at an event, whether it's online, whether it's at a one-to-one conversation with your sales representative or with the field, you really are empowered by content as a consumer. We know that many buyers do most of their research online before they even come to the table to talk about making a deal. And so it's more crucial now than ever that we are communicating with everyone, no matter where they are in their buying cycle, with a unified message and with content that's really engaging and helpful. I mean, the statement I tell my team is that it's our job as marketers to help people make sense of a really rapidly changing world. And that's the purpose all content should serve in my personal philosophy.
Oh, that's brilliant. Now, it seems to me that digital transformation is impacting specifically the customer experience area so dramatically. I mean, because more and more of the interactions customers have are digital. which puts more responsibility on your team to provide the right content at the right time and the right size and the right amount and all that kind of just seems almost overwhelming when you think of all that responsibility. Why don't you walk us through one of your typical days, Amy?
A lot of my time is spent empowering my team to create really delightful experiences, whether it's an Instagram post, a white paper, an ebook, a blog post, thought leadership. We really strive to create things that are not only helpful, but also beautiful and engaging. And so, I spend a lot of time working with my strategy guy. Jack Dyson on my team is largely responsible for how we approach the kind of content that we do create and why. For instance, one of the things we're doing now is we've actually gone throwback a little bit to print. So that may seem counterintuitive in a digital world, but it's actually disruptive of what many of our competitors are doing. So we are creating some really high value, high quality production assets that we target to our most important customers to help make them feel valued and special and different, differentiating between where they might be in their decision-making process and in their thinking, where, different from, say, somebody on the IT purchasing committee might be. They need a different kind of content. So we spend a lot of time talking and thinking about a nonlinear buyer journey and all of our different personas and how we can best put that customer's needs first. And one of the things that we have found as we do that through our days is that when we put the customer's needs before our business goals, we always exceed our business goals, which has been really interesting learning for us.
Oh, wow. And it seems to me that digital transformation, again, is impacting your area probably more than a lot of different areas in an enterprise. How have you've been in the industry, you've been in content for many years here. How have you really seen the requirements for content generation, especially for a company like SAP? How has that actually evolved and changed over the last few years?
I think the biggest change I've seen is speed to market. I think it's so crucial that we are able to be agile and quick when we are creating content. And to that end, our content strategy really focuses on creating what we call big rock assets that we can plan to break out as needed. So we actually approach it from a backward in approach. So we start thinking about where are we going to need all these pieces that we can very quickly execute on, and then we build up to what the full bundle looks like. So, taking a content map and saying we know we're going to need these 15 things that have the same theme. We know that we need to have this big rock piece of content that we can use as either a campaign offer or a grounding asset like our gold guide, which sets out our entire messaging and tells our customer stories. How are we going to be able to quickly manipulate that piece in a digital world to meet a need that might arise that we haven't anticipated yet? So we really try to look at the full spectrum of what we're creating and anticipate where we might need to be fast. And, if I think about, my background is actually in print journalism. So I come from content, just a different kind of content. And, we had a daily press run and, the speed at which we had to create content was even slower, even though it was still a daily operation, right? So, if we think about 24 hours, sometimes it might be 12 hours, in terms of the time you need to create. So for me, I think that's the most challenging piece for content creators is the ability to say, okay, we need this piece of content. It's come up. Where are we going to source it from? How are we going to create it? And trying to think strategically beforehand so that you don't have to scramble to be able to meet that need.
Wow. So are the 13 people in your team, are they primarily overseeing different areas of content that needs to be generated? And then do you have kind of a big network then of writers and content generators? How does that work?
We do. So our team is responsible for building all of our demand generation assets. We're also responsible for thought leadership in some ways that ties into demand. We run a platform called the Future of Customer Engagement and Commerce. which is a high level, high quality, original thought leadership that's tied to demand. We don't have an aggressive strategy there. It's very much around engagement, building trust. So we know that once somebody has come and signed up for our newsletter and revisited us, that when it comes time to make a decision, they will tip into the buying cycle, hopefully with us. And there we have people who are responsible for looking at strategy. And we do have some in-house writers, but we're finding more and more that we need to pull those people into strategic projects and looking at working across our different teams, our product teams and our demand generation teams to support them strategically from a content standpoint. So we do actually employ a fairly large network of external freelancers that myself and some of my colleagues who've also come from journalism have sourced. And then we also use our internal network, which is Studio SAP, where we have a cadre of writers who are well-versed in our brand as well, that we can also call on.
Now, I'm looking at that and just thinking of the incredible amount of complexity involved in that scenario you just painted for us there. So what kind of, if we can pull back the curtains, what kind of tools do you use to kind of try to line this all up and keep it organized?
We have some content management tools that we use right now. We do have NewsCred. We're looking at creating a system through tools and through human effort where we actually can see end-to-end what everybody is doing and give a global view. That's the biggest challenge, I think, for any content marketer today, is actually wrapping your head around all the different pieces of content that everybody's creating. I mean, we have PR and comms, we have podcasts, we have videos, we have partners, we have sales enablement, we have people out in the field creating their own content. There's so much to wrap your head around, and governance is really key, I think, going forward in this industry, because right now it's still kind of a wild west. And so it's really important to understand, at least begin to understand in a small way, what you have in market all the time so that you're telling one story. Because what can easily happen is that that message can get fractured and changed along the way, like a giant game of telephone, right? If not everything is lined up. And so that's actually one of my 2019 goals, is to look at different tools and different processes and different ways of organizing so that we can come to a governance model where we understand what the left hand and the right hand are both doing, and making sure that those hands are shaking instead of waving at each other from different parts of the room.
Oh, yeah. So you touched on all the different kinds of content there, from podcasts to videos and all that. That begs the question, how have you seen consumer consumption habits changed over time? Are consumers, did they used to read different kinds of content which is now not popular, and they've moved to some other platform and are reading that? Just how have you seen that in your experience?
Absolutely. I think, there's a couple of paradigm shifts. One, we went from paper to digital, right? So if you think about industries, trade magazines were, some of the first places people would look, catalogs, and then we went to the screen, and we went to the big screen. So we went to our desktops and our laptops, and now we've moved to mobile. People are so transient, and you're always in your car or you're always on a plane. You can't even always read on your phone. So I think that the rise of the podcast is really, I think, starting to peak. I think more and more brands are approaching that as a way to get their content out there where people can consume it while they're multitasking. People's lives are busy, and we want to be able to come to our customers in a way that's convenient for them. When you're on the treadmill or you're in your car driving from sales call to sales call, for instance, is a place where we can catch you with a podcast. Mobile, I think social, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, not so much, I don't think, for the B2B market, but definitely LinkedIn and Instagram are places where you have to be present, and you have to have content that is really tailored for that brief moment you have that attention span. And that's another thing too, is that attention spans have shrunk. So the average engagement with any piece of digital content is 8 seconds.
Wow.
You have 8 seconds to get that person's attention. If you don't, they look away. One of my favorite metrics about our online platform is actually we have a time on site of 6 minutes. So we know that we are well above that 8-minute mark. So we know we're hitting an engagement. And I think, with mobile too, you have to really underpin everything you do with analytics and data and testing, and make sure that you're not spending money on that 8-second chance you're taking and losing.
Wow. So two questions there. One, you excluded Facebook, but what about it? But you said Instagram. You kept that in the mix there. Now, Instagram is mostly photo sharing. What is the strategy behind a large company and large group like SAP Customer Experience? What do you try to achieve on a photo sharing platform?
That really is about awareness and engagement. We do that. We leverage Instagram a lot for events, driving registration, driving excitement, driving people to join our live streams. And we do use Facebook for live stream. I should backtrack a little bit there and say that the platform that we use most for live streaming is Facebook. And that is actually really valuable. And then we take that content that we're able to capture there and we turn it into other content. So we'll do blog posts based around that, and smaller snippets on Instagram, small, short, bite-sized videos to capture someone's attention, driving them to a call to action. I think people are very visual right now. Again, this is around this 8-second mark, right? It's a lot faster to look at a photo than it is to read a 500-word blog post. And so I think that it's a doorway into brand awareness, into engagement that is low threshold for both the company and the consumer.
What role does Instagram play in the whole influencer marketing and get to know your audience and show the human side of the company and that kind of thing? Is that important as well?
It's huge, and I think SAP is very upfront with their brand purpose. We are a people-driven, purpose-driven brand. We are engaging with customers that are help building a better world, and that's so important today. I think if you look at, for instance, Nike's recent engagement with Colin Kaepernick, you can see that brands that are humanized and brands that engage in current events and purposeful marketing, they reap the benefit. Their sales went up 30%. Wow. Their ad with their campaign. And so, I think in this climate, there's so much to choose from and there's so much noise that you need to show, instead of just tell, how your company lives its values. And I know that our Instagram channel does do that. There's a lot of humanity in those pieces of content that we share, and we're fairly transparent around who we are and what we believe in. And I think that matters. I think it really, content that reflects your company's values is so important for not just engagement, but also for employee engagement, because it makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than just yourself. Wow.
So under the content umbrella, are you including, you mentioned a bunch of them there, everything from video to, do you do long form reports and web content? Do you cover the whole gamut with your group?
Cover the whole gamut. We're producing a book. We do thought leadership. We publish 5 times a day, blog posts on the future of customer engagement and commerce. We support our PR and comms team. We are engaged in video creation, short demo videos, but also longer form. We just recently came off of Customer Experience Live, where my team supported the keynote creation and all of the content around and content strategy behind that event. We had 502 sessions.
Oh, wow.
Was responsible for making sure they aligned with the red thread messaging, which we also created. And so we have a vast amount of responsibility, and it covers every piece, but we're not alone. We work in a really collaborative environment. And so we do have the support of other teams, and we may not create every piece of content bespoke in our team, but we do influence and have eyes on everything that the organization is doing from a content perspective.
Wow. Some of the digital transformation, Amy, that's happening in sales as we're all watching it is the ability to kind of track the whole customer journey from being that prospect that's just first visiting your website to being a long-term customer with multiple subscriptions and everything, is that you have that visibility now. I know that's a lot of emphasis with SAP Customer Experience. and a lot of emphasis behind the value that that data has. But knowing that much about a prospect and a customer also means that you have the opportunity to personalize content. So are you finding that you're having to track more and more data points and provide very personalized, customized content, more and more of that by personas, by, location in the customer journey? So is that just, it seems to me that that can exponentially increase the demand for content.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. I think every brand is up against that. And every brand requires that because consumers are more demanding than ever. And they will close their eyes to you if you don't engage with them on their terms. And so, as we go forward, our team is really looking at how can we achieve that goal without overpowering both our manpower and our budget. And I do think that the tools that we are creating in-house at SAP Customer Experience do empower that journey. And so we are looking to, use our own platforms to move forward and in making sure that we can deliver, that we can walk the walk, We can't just talk, we have to deliver. And that is definitely a goal for us, is to create the most personalized, most impactful customer experience our own customers can have.
Amy, you've been a brilliant guest. I want to thank you so much for pulling back those curtains and show what a huge company like SAP, what it takes to really provide that exceptional customer experience. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great. I love talking about this stuff.
All right. Thank you again. I want to thank all you guys out there for joining us as well.